Good afternoon, everybody. A very warm welcome on behalf of Elsina to this webinar on standard practices in electronics manufacturing ecosystem, including end of life. So we'll be discussing about the practices with respect to green electronics and sustainability, which is a very important topic today. And we are very grateful to Dr. Sandip Chatterjee for having initiated, and he's going to lead the webinar. The Alsina President, Mr. Shashi Kumar Gandham. Very warm welcome to you also, Mr. Gandham, to this webinar. And I am grateful to all the participants on behalf of of Alsina for joining. And I'm sure it will be a very fruitful exercise and useful for everybody. So with that few words, I would like to hand over the mic to Mr. Shashi Kumar Gandham, the Alsina President, to kindly give his welcome address, and then we will proceed to the main discussion and the main presentation by Dr. Sandip Chatterjee. Over to you, Sasiji, please.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rajuji, and very warm welcome, Dr. Sandip Chatterjee. And also I welcome each and every participant to this webinar, kind of very interesting webinar, and more so to hear from our own Dr. Sandip Chatterjee, who has been very, very instrumental in getting the electronics industry to where it is today. He has played a significant role. Having said that, generation, but then what is more important is also kind of, like looking at the part of the other side of it, which is operation and destruction, more or less, which is kind of recycling is what I mean. How do we kind of get our products to be more environmentally friendly products and practices and materials, and at the same time also trying to get across this not just for our own industry but across the board with the sustainable practices that goes through generations to come. And as we all know, electronics today plays a significant role. We call it electronics for humanity, because there is nothing much that touches a day without electronics. And having said that, with the kind of volumes that we have and the whole market growth, there is so much also in e-waste and also other practices that we will need to do for a sustainable future. So therefore, we'll be very glad to hear the insights from Dr. Sandip Chatterjee himself, and really looking forward to it, sir. To Dr. Sandip Chatterjee, posted which, in case you have questions, so please kindly put them on the chat box. If time permits, I think Dr. Sandip Chatterjee will answer them, some of them at least. If not, the Secretariat at least will get back to you with the answers as much as we can. Thank you so much, sir, and look forward to your session. Over to you.
Thank you, Shashiji. It is my pleasure. I'm grateful to LCA for giving this forum to sensitize one of the important aspects of sustainable electronics. As you all know, this is one vertical is going entire sectors. We do not have any sectors where electronics application is not there, and it is changing very fast. So the disposal will be also faster. Very recent development like artificial intelligence and other IoT sensor based product. So we'll be seeing the much faster rate changes. India is also aspiring to have a semiconductor manufacturing where critical minerals are most important things. So one part is environment, another part is requirement of the minerals or materials, where circular economy will be the important aspects. And if you can see some of the figures, I can just give you 2 gram IC chip requires 32 kgs of minerals. 2 kgs of your computers using 800 kgs of materials. And another figure is mind-blowing. 1990, we are using 10 elements in our phone. 2005, we are using 27 elements. 2024 smartphone is using 69 different elements in periodic table. So we can understand what is the requirement of minerals, especially critical minerals that are used for green technology and shaping of our today's electronics. So it is far different than whatever we are using 30 years back or back. So this is one of the topic. Can I ask others to please mute? So this is one of the important topics, standard practice in electronic manufacturing. Now, if you see the one figure that will show how electronics has changed the world. In Rome, one of the street in 2005, there is one figure and showing it 2013. All are holding their smartphone and clicking the photos. So this is how the world has changed with the very beautiful one item that is called electronics. But if you see now, electronics is not a a standalone device. It is connected with many other electronic devices. So entire world is now, life is connected. That also requires a lot of improvement in the electronics. That is how electronics is changing very fast. Now, if you see the electronics, this is one of the product, is the most green product, I should mention. Because entire practice, it has followed lot of standards. If you are talking about electronic design and development, if you talk about printed circuit board fabrication, printed circuit board assembly, printed circuit board testing, final functional testing, PCB inspection, IC programming, box build assembly, or the final functional testing, all series of IPC, they are being used. ISO standard from 9001, 14001, TS 16949, 13483, all those standards are being used. Also, JSTD standards are being used for different soldering and testing purposes. Apart from that, there is a ROS standard, restricted of hazardous substance, where we are taking care of few restricted substance. Also, there is a C marking. There are UL standards. There are for safety standards. And also, we know that the EN standards for EMC standards, multimedia equipment, all those standards, these electronics products are taking care. There are AEC standards, C mark, all those things are being done. So it is entirely, when it is being developed and handed over to the consumer, they are taking care of so many, important standard and scrutiny that is giving this product robust, perfect, and agile, and also it is just what is required for that function. Now, as we know, what these standards, what it plays actually, what is standards? So if we talk about the standards, it is nothing but an agreed way of doing something. The point of a standard is to provide a reliable basis for the people to share the same expectation about a product or service. So there are many definitions. Another definition is saying this is a document developed, used by consensus for the all stakeholders, which describes how a product is to be obtained or used. And if you are going for a very precise ISO definition, this is basically a standard, is a document that provides requirements, specification, guideline, or characteristics that can be used consistently to ensure that materials, product, process, and services are fit for their purposes. So what it contains, there are document. So document can be electronic form also, it can be a paper form also. And stakeholders, it can be anyone in the entire value chain, like including the interested without any restriction. So entire value chain who are using it or receiving it, it can be the stakeholders. Product can be hardware, software, analysis results, test results, protocol, definition. Obtained and used can mean designed, built, procured, calculated, and tested. Now, what it serves actually? It gives you the professionalism. Any organization, if you are working as a professional organization, you should have a standard which is actually giving the consistency. So ensure the task performed by the same way each time and reduce variability and also predictable outcome. So the end user will be having a predictable outcome and there will be no variation in your product or service. It should be a proper protocol are being used. Compliance. So adherence to the industry standard regulation helps the organization to meet the legal requirement and avoid potential penalties. So this will help you to check and balance entire ecosystem of manufacturing or production. And if it is something is the rule of the land or in international regulation, so this will take care of all those things automatically if you are following standards. Communication, very interesting. One electronic product may have different type of shop floor, may have different type of operation. So it simplifies the communication among the team working in the framework and terminology within the organization and outside organization also. So the terminology will be standard. So once you are talking about certain things, it will be understood by the other team member. Continuous improvement. When established standards in place, it is easier to identify area for improvement and make systematic enhancement. So there will be a scope for improvement also. So the standard will give you the gap areas where internal audit can give you the gap areas where you can have improvement. It also ensure eliminate the unnecessary step. It will enhance your efficiency. It can optimize the workflow, fast completion times, and waste reduction. So if you are making any repetitive method, or if you are some process is not needed, that will be also eliminated. It will basically waste reduction can be done. Quality control, maintain a consistent quality with clearly defined criteria, best practices followed by all. So there will be no ambiguity in between. So specified, consistent, specification or criteria would be followed. Scalability, easier to replicate and scale, which is crucial for growing the businesses. Benchmarking, so easier performance comparison against industry benchmarks or competitors. Training, easily to train new employees with a clear and consistent set of instruction to follow. Problem solving, so makes easier to identify the problem area, implement the effective solution when issue arises. So these are all various benefit that brings you the professionalism in an organization. Now, if you go to further details, the standard improves the process and brings the professionalism. What are the different, like you are talking about consistency. So the adherence to the recognized standards ensures the client to receive a consistent of a quality and service. So predictability builds confidence and ensures the reliability. So consistency will bring all those quality. Quality assurance, the standards often include the specific criteria, best practices for the quality control, reassures that product or service are tested, meets established benchmarks for the performance and safety. Compliance, following industry standards demonstrates that the business complies relevant regulation and laws, reduces the risk of legal issues. Clients are assured of operating within the framework of accepted practices. Transparency, the standard provide clear guideline and criteria to the client. This transparency helps the client understand what to expect and how business maintains its quality and performance. Similarly, accountability, the following the standard, businesses commit to the certain practices, procedures, makes them accountable. Client have confidence on the company, is serious about maintaining high standard and addresses. Performance management, it can help the performance against the predefined criteria, allows the client to see tangible evidence and company's commitment, excellence, continuous improvement. And also credibility, certification to reputed standard like ISO 9001, widely used standard, adds the credibility. Clients recognize this certification and associated them with the reliability and professionalism. So more than 1.5 lakhs organization around the world has following these standards. So these are all, if you are having the standards, So the client will be knowing that you are doing a serious business. So you are trusted. Now, what are other things? It will be more related with the end of life of the product. EHS, that is the health safety of the workers. Workers or manpower is the asset of any organization that will your performance will depend on them. So if you are taking ISO 45001 2018, so it will prevent the workplace injuries and illnesses, improve the compliance with laws and regulation, reduce the cost, including the significant reduction in workers' compensation premiums, engage work, they will be more sensitive, enhance their social responsibility goals, and increase the productivity and enhance overall business operation. Now, if you are taking a workers' health safety seriously, any organization, so main three verticals are taken care of. Like in your committed document, statement of intent should be there. First part states that general policy on occupational health and safety. It includes the commitment to the to manage the health and safety and the aim. Business owners or the senior most person in the company needs to sign this. So the CEO or managing director should sign it. So that will show the intent. Then the responsibility for health and safety. This section includes the list of name, roles, and position of the person in the organization who have responsibility to maintain the health and safety within the workplace. And third one, arrangement for the health safety. So this section includes the details of practice, arrangement to a workplace has in place to show how to achieve the health and safety policy aims. For example, performing risk management training employees using the safety equipment and signs. So these are all some of the things it will be ensured if you are taking care of standards. Now, another one, if you are talking about 40,001 2015, this is on EMS. So this will be actually applied, on finished product handling. So environmental responsibility policy, planning, where identifying aspects, impact and operational controls, identify legal and other requirement, meeting the objective and target, and also the implementing and operation, that defining the training needs, implementing the training, internal communication, reporting, external communication, document and control. Similarly, checking and correctness of action, monitoring and measuring, process improvement, records, EMS compliance. All those aspects are taken care of for awareness on environmental health safety, accident reporting, investigation and analysis, personal security, housekeeping, plant shutdown and startup, handling the storage and disposal. So all those aspects will take care if you are having the ISO 14001 2015. Now, the policy of an organization used for environmental sound management, it is fully account for the externality imposed on the factory's own operation and facilities. It will also prevent water, land, and air pollution during the plant operation and the facility. Use resources efficiently and reduce as much as possible. So optimization of the resource will also be taken care of. Comply with applicable local, national, regional, and international environmental regulations. Provide the safety and healthy of the workplaces. Progressively integrating the environmental consideration holistically into all aspects of the management, facilities, operation, as well as the aspects of the pragmatic cycle like planning, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation. Continually improving its environmental performance, engaging all relevant stakeholders in this process, and also developing and implementing mandatory standards and time-bound action plans. Now, if you see the salient features, of course, in future we'll be taking a individual standard also in details. So if you're talking about these four standards, which will most important for recycling. So I'm concentrating on the end of life of the electronic product, where this four is important. Like 9001, 2015. It is talking about the quality management system, where the high level structure, risk-based thinking, leadership and commitment, context of our organization, customer focus, process approach, evidence-based decision making, improvement document, all those things will be taken care of. And if you are talking about 14,001, it is basically environmental management system, where all sorts of high level structure, context, organization, leadership commitment, environmental policy, planning, support, operation, performance evaluation and improvement will be taken care of. And now if you are going for a 45,001, this is purely on occupational health, safety and management. So the high level structure, context of organization, leadership, these are all common in all the three. Workers participation, risk-based thinking, organizational health and safety policy, planning support, operational performance and evaluation improvement, all those things will be taken care. If you are talking one of the important and most popular standard in recycling, that is called R2. SERI is owning that standard. Now it's a version V3 is operational. So for R2, V3, all the three ISO should be the prerequisite. We should have a 9,001, 14,001, 45,001. Then only you can apply for a R2, V3. But R2, V3 will be adding your organization. It is basically outcome based. So the others are actually you are documenting things. Here documentation will be the on material tracking or product and data sanitization. All those things of the electronics will be taken care. Now extended scope, risk management, due diligence, data protection and data security. That's really very important for India also. We have a DPDP Act now. Environmental management, worker health safety management system, documentation, third-party relationship compliance, enforcement, and continual improvement. And also, R2 V3 is taking care of all downstream vendor, and they are R2 certified or not, so that the secondary raw material tracking can be done easily, so that we can document entire things, how this secondary raw material can be then assessed and reused for the initial production of the electronics. So the circular economy, enabling the circular economy concept. Now, if you see the international standard for e-waste recycling, what it does actually leverage the globally accepted best practices with consensus of the stakeholders. So respect and complement laws and regulation, national as well as international, provide an additional layer of oversight of monitoring, which will give you the legal compliance, environmental impact, health safety worker communities, data security, supplement regulatory enforcement, externalize the cost of regulatory enforcement, promote continuous improvement of the recyclers, and keep recyclers in monitoring protocol. So these are all the additional help any organization can have if they are having the standard like this. Now, very recently, circular economy is also having one standard. So this is widely being used in various parts. It is from the design side. So the upstream to downstream. In upstream, you have a part manufacturers, where the recyclable materials are being used or not, use of subcomponents, and also the testing, inspection, product certification. After that, product manufacturing, where the circularity design has to be ensured, and the manufacturing. So the future product, which will be more circular, are much more difficult to design than the present stage. So it will not be a conventional electronics. You have to see which material is recyclable, which design is better recyclable and refurbishable. So those things will be promoted in future. And service provider also come under that scrutiny. So informing user and optimizing the usability, that is service certification. Then the user, where user behavior, sharing and responsible use. Then comes to the product maintaining. So how long it can be used. So maintenance and prolonged usability. So percent certification, inspection and service certification. Then the use of product, then reuse and redistribute, then the management system certification, and finally recycling. So recycling should not be a only option of the last, it should be the last option. As you know, recycling also requires energy. It can also generate carbon dioxide. So those things should be, of course, it will be much lesser than mining minerals, but it should be also restricted. The longer time of the product uses should be actually ensured. The conformity assessment activity along the value chain help close the loop in technically the cycle. So what we understood, so for sustainable electronics, take, make, use, throw. This is a linear concept. So if you are really interested to infuse the circular economy in electronics vertical, so we should have a standard. So integrating electronics best practices into the circular economy demands a standard. That means identify, document best practices to meet the goal. So this is the first important point. Then we should have a certification. So create accountability to the best practices. You must have done best practices, but you are accountable or not. So that requires a certification. Then the last stage is a commitment. So to the best practices by everyone. So every employee in that organization and from the top management are committed. So these three things actually can be availed if you are having a standard. So standard, certifications, and commitment. Then it takes a commitment by everyone all the time, the stakeholders. Who are the stakeholders? It could be businesses, it could be government, it could be people or citizen. Now activity, end of life, returns. So who can have a recycling standards? So end of life, after end of life, whoever is dealing that end of life product can have the standards. Who are returning it should see that whether data has been sanitized properly or not. All those standards are important. Then the upgrade the product. So you are introducing certain battery, changing certain battery, or upgrading the software and other things. So whatever will be replaced from the things, you should be sustainably that should be recycled. Then the IT AD. So these are all some of the activity where the standard is most important. Now, so this is one of the important standards I'm today just giving you. That is R2. There are few more. So that subsequent webinar will be discussing more on that. So this is R2. It has started way back in 2010. The benefit of R2 certificates is internal benefit, improve the quality, improve the efficiency, improve the worker health and safety, reduce the risk of the environmental ability, and external benefit. R2 instills confidence in customers and suppliers. R2 expands access to the supply. So if you are R2 certificate, you can ensure this internal benefit and external benefits, which will give you a more mature, responsible recycler, and people will start believing you are doing a very environment-friendly, sound, recycling, and you are taking care of the data part also. So your data will not be leaked in subsequent help. So that is the brief presentation about standard from my side. So I'll be love to have some question.
Hello.
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 Yeah.
One by one, just raise the hand and you can ask. Otherwise, Rashika, you can just read out some of the question from the chat box.
Sir, it will be better if they, type their question in the chat box.
Okay.
And also, sir, there's some issue. I think most of the participants are logged in as Rashika. So I request them to introduce before asking the question. Otherwise, we'll not be able to identify who is asking the question.
Okay.
Please introduce yourself and then ask the question. Thank you.
No question? Everybody understood? Jogesh, you ask first question. Then people will start, I think.
Okay, sir. Thank you for sharing this
Hmm.
detailed presentation. I have one question that there are so many regulations coming in, and how India is prepared for these regulation, and what is the level of preparedness in India?
Can you repeat the question?
Sir, these regulations which are coming up,
Hmm.
so on the regulatory framework, how
Hmm.
much India is prepared? Because once the regulatory body is prepared, then industry will prepare themselves. So what is the preparedness level currently?
Actually, if you see the third version of the rule, we are first country. We have, for under EPR, we have targeted 4 metals, that is the secondary raw materials from the beginning. So we are, we are translating EPR to the, your responsibility to extract the 4 metals. But one metal like copper and gold, at least few parts of the copper, you require to invest in a actually recycling process or technology. There comes the problem. The earlier version of the rule, it was on the collection target. Now it is the recycling target. So the recycling cannot be happening if you are not investing on technology and machineries. So that requires certain process. Once you are talking of a process, this is you can say it is not a any other recycling plant. It is a production plant actually. Your input material is e-waste. So the entire process inside the recycling plant should be followed. The quality, environment, health, safety, all those things should be taken care of. Now, CPCB very recently has started some auditing, but that auditing are based on their own guideline, and they are seeing the basic parameter like how much electricity you are consuming for producing or rather processing those material and all. These are all basic parameter, whether you have a machine, what is the input feed of that machine, and what output you are going. So that is not actually standard. But anyway, CPCB has initiated that. So if you are taking R2, then you are going some another higher level of compliance. So whatever CPCB is asking you, that will be anyway documented when R2 certification will be obtained. And beyond that, you are taking care of data, you are taking care of material output, input, output in document. And if you are not doing the entire extraction, then your downstream vendor is also R2 certified or not. So you are ensuring entire value chain of the recycling. So, so this will definitely improve whatever CPCB is doing, but it is a good beginning from CPCB side. But it is not mandating now at R2 certificate. But in future, but there are around 54 companies, they have taken R2. And also now SERI has started a new team in India, and also the new certifying body, because SERI doesn't give the certification. So there will be an accreditation body. Now, very recently, SERI signed a MOU with NABCB, National Accreditation Board of Certifying Body under QCI. So they will be the accreditation body. And under accreditation body, one company, URS in Gurgaon, they have chosen as a certifying body. So now India is having own certifying body. Earlier, whoever has taken, the US company was taking care of the India also. That was very expensive. Now it will be cost effective. So this is the point on R2.
Right, sir. So I think there are two questions in the chat box. One is from Ms. Pooja, and she's asking about the what are the standards devised for secondary raw materials to be used in remanufacturing for ensuring quality recoverable materials.
Of course, this R2 will also take care of the secondary raw material. Once I will be taking the extraction. So this is the end of the process. So the secondary raw material, either that recycler is doing or they are giving it to the refinery. So the traceability of the secondary raw material will be ensured. So R2 will take care very well the SRM as well.
Okay. Okay. Any more question? I think there is one question from Mr. Raj. and he's asking about what are the certifications required for RF-based electronic products.
I think initially I have shown a series of, this thing is not a recycling one. So there I have already mentioned, ISO, JST, and other, of course, ROHS would be there. Your CE will be there. So all those things we have discussed. I'm not gone to details, but the name I have mentioned in the first slide.
Right, sir. Any further questions from the participants?
One question I've seen that how can R2 standard help in small recycler? Actually, it is size agnostic. It is helpful for medium, small, and large recycler. And if you are focusing only on certain products, so of course you are right. Presently, R2 is applicable for the electronic product, which are using the data. So, and very recently, 2024, R2 is extended up to the photovoltaics, panel also, PV panel, photovoltaic panel. So, in future, maybe the, white goods and other products also will come under the R2, because they are also through IoT sensors, lot of data will be used. And another question I've seen that requirement for manufacturer for their vendor to have R2. This is the mandate that should be required from the our environment ministry, MOEF, or the CPCB should mandate that. But once manufacturers are the brand owner and they are the MNC and their companies in the other developed country are following this standard, and I guess that in India also they will be using the same method. I think another question, roadmap for adopting sustainability standards in India and product level while designing building the electronic product. Very good question. I am very hopeful, because actually if you are really interested to target the $30 trillion economy, where 25% will be the digital economy, and in digital economy without electronics is not possible. So we'll be having, very, renowned brand in India, and where Indian companies, typically Indian companies, SMEs or MSMEs, will be aligning this international, production or manufacturing value chain. So if they are not taking the standards, so they will be disconnected. So I think in future, another 10 years, scenario will be entirely different. Another question I've seen, standard on soldering material products of recycling. There are few standard I have mentioned in initial slide. I'll be sharing with Elsina. You can just see. Dipali, you have a question. Are two other standards applicable only for large recyclers? I think this is R2 is, it can be, I have already mentioned, it is for small unit also. It can be taken by, dismantler also, collectors also, and small unit also. But in our country now, collector dismantlers are irrelevant. So all are clubbed with the recyclers. So the recyclers and refurbishers can take the certificate, and any size. So it's small, medium, and large can take up. Any other question, Yogesh?
No, sir, I don't see any more questions. If any questions, requesting participant to type.
So then we can conclude this.
Yes, sir, we can conclude this, and I would like to thank you for giving your time and precious knowledge for the industry. I'm sure this is required for the industry, and this is not the only one webinar we are doing on this subject. We must be having multiple webinars on this subject because our industry needs to be educated on these issues, because these issues will be very crucial in the days when we have sustainability and the eco-friendliness and everything will be taken into account. So I would like to thank
Yogesh,
SERI also.
one thing I
Yes,
should
sir.
mention, in future investment, I've discussed at a very senior level in the government,
Right, sir.
future investment will be on green technology.
Absolutely,
And
sir.
it will be the green investment. So you are talking about brown and something which is not having any standard. So you will not attract any investment. So if you are really interested to be there, you have a recycling plant, having a entire things and standard, your value will be different level than the other your peers. So that will
Absolutely.
actually help. And if you are manufacturers, you are aligning to the R2 certificate or other Senelac and other important certification of the global best practices. So you will be rated in a different rate. So that will going to come. Maybe now there is a hazy pictures, but another 2-3 years this differentiator will be seen.
Absolutely, sir. You are absolutely right, because we are trying to attract more and more investment in the electronics industry, and unless we are prepared for these kind of environmental issues, we will not be able to attract that, and that will be a major roadblock for us. So we would like to thank you again. We would like to thank SERI also for supporting us in this aspect, and we look forward for next webinar with you. And if any participant has any question, they can write to us. They can write to Rashika or me, and we can communicate with you and try to answer these queries. So thank you so much.